I'm going to go ahead and get us started so that we make sure we have plenty of time to share Erin from Cultural North's insights into our topic today on building the brand outside of the flock. So my name is Kathy Brown-Zerwas, and I'm with SCORE, and I'll talk a little bit more about SCORE after we do some other introductions here. But just to get started on that, curious, how many people here know of SCORE? Just raise your hand. Okay, that's there we go. That's actually better than I expected. Okay, and then the second question is, how many people here have ever worked with a SCORE mentor? Okay, all right, there we go. Okay, well, some more on that. I'll be asking you folks for some insights into what that experience was like later. But anyway, thank you for coming today. This is an event that we're really excited to be able to do with a couple of our strategic partners here for the North Star branch of SCORE, and that's Centricity Credit Union and the Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce. They have been real advocates in supporting us developing SCORE's outreach into the Northland area, and they serve on our strategic advisory board and our sponsors for your session here today. So we have them to thank for this wonderful space and this wonderful meal. So thank you both to them. And I'm going to introduce them and let them talk just for a little bit about what they do in their organizations to support local businesses. So Eric Silgendahl, did I pronounce it correctly? Close enough?
Close enough.
Okay, all right. Is the Business Services Director for Centricity Credit Union, and their focus is on helping clients meet their financial goals. So I'd like to introduce Eric, and would you like to share a little bit more about Centricity?
Oh, sure. I'll say I have Georgiana with me. She's also works with me over at Centricity. We both work in business services for Centricity Credit Union. We have a branch here in Hermantown, obviously just kind of right across the street. We also have a branch in East Duluth, West Duluth, Superior, and Proctor. We have a full line of business products and services. So if there's any questions, anything you guys might have on the business banking side of things, you can reach out to either one of us. We're just proud to be a supporter of SCORE. It's a great organization, and thankful for Erin to be able to come to that.
Thank you. Okay. And next, we have Kim Carpenter. She's the president and CEO of the Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce. Has 20 years as a leader in the nonprofit area and also a former small business owner. So she's probably got stories of her own to share. Kim loves working with people who dream big, set crazy goals, and work daily to achieve them. So that gives you a little insight into who she is. So Kim.
Awesome. Thank you everybody for being here. We're excited to host this SCORE program today, and to Erin for being here and sharing all of his knowledge and expertise. The Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce, we're housed right here. We have about 337 members in our chamber, so we're not super tiny, but we're not super big. So we like to think that we're very approachable and able to help you connect and network with folks, people that you want to get to know in the community. We also advocate for businesses. We are a staunch advocate, very pro-business organization here. We do have some awesome marketing opportunities for our businesses in our membership, and we do some educational programming like SCORE today. So if you have any questions about the chamber, if you're already members, thank you so much. We are driven on memberships and sponsorships. And but if you have any questions or interested in joining, let me know. I'm happy to answer those questions or direct you to really great resources. Thank you.
I have one.
Yeah.
Do you have to have a business in the Hermantown area to become a member?
That is a great question, Kathy. Absolutely not. And something I should talk about. That's why about 10 years ago, the board put the word area in our name. We really try to focus on Hermantown, Proctor, and Rice Lake, these communities on the hill, and the townships as well, because our peers in Duluth do a great job with the Duluth Area Chamber. But I would say about 40% of our membership has a business in Duluth for sure. So we are definitely an area. We do even have a few members in Superior and the Range in the Twin Cities and Brainerd. So it's just where you live, work, play, do business, etc. To join the chamber membership. There's no territories, but we really try to be engaged in the communities of Proctor, Hermantown, and Rice Lake.
Awesome, thank you.
Great question.
She shared that with me a number of years ago, and that's why I thought, okay, I would not have guessed that, so, yes. Kudos. Awesome. Yeah, you did. All right, so SCORE, so we saw a show of hands that some people are aware of it, but we tend to be one of the best kept secrets in terms of working with small businesses or entrepreneurs or people that are even just in the dreaming stage of starting, potentially looking at starting a business. All the way through to working with individuals that maybe have had a business or are an executive in a business and they're working on how do I jumpstart or should I relocate geographically to someplace else, or I'm gonna add a new product line. Or I might have had this business and now I'm thinking about exit planning. I'm thinking about what's the next part of my journey. So it's working with businesses or entrepreneurs along that whole continuum. And we are one of the best kept secrets. We're underneath of the Small Business Administration, the SBA. That's where we're organized and chartered as a nonprofit. And the focus of the organization is fostering the development and support for businesses and their communities for growth. So the two main avenues that SCORE supports is through educational programming, of which I would say 99.5% is totally free. There are some programs or whatever which might have some minor administrative costs because there might be an assessment or something that has to be, used online. But I would say the majority of them are all free of charge. And also the other program that goes in parallel with that is the mentorship program. And you saw a raise of hands of some people who actually worked with a mentor through SCORE. And those SCORE mentors, there's 12,000 of us across the entire United States. About a third of the mentors are people who are actively running businesses, companies, or whatever, and 2/3 are people that might not be doing that full time. They may still be doing some side gigs or whatever, or are retired. But in all cases, those people are people who have said, I want to give back and share what I've learned and help be a resource for somebody else who's looking at going into business. And I also am a lifelong learner, because one of the things that's a plus as a SCORE mentor is we get to participate in a lot of the training. And we might be developing it and delivering some, but I'm a newbie into AI, okay? But I've sat in on now 4 training sessions through SCORE on AI. So the people who are mentors are there as a resource, but they're also there because they're lifelong learners as well too. So they're going to be really interested in learning what it is that you want to try to accomplish, bringing anything that they can to bear, and also continuing to learn about that particular area or industry that you're interested in. For a SCORE mentor is different than a consultant. And so what is that? SCORE mentors are there as a resource to work alongside of a person, as a coach, as a cheerleader, as an advisor, but not in terms of being a consultant in the sense of doing a work product. So we'll help you find resources to work with, to do your outline of a marketing plan, or here's resources on different ideas and information around how to structure your business. Should it be an LLC, should it be a sole proprietorship, should it be a C Corp or whatever. But we don't draft the documents for that. We don't do the marketing plan. So we provide you the resources to be able to do those things and share with you any insights that we have. And it's for free. So free educational sessions, free mentorship. So there's no cost associated with that. It really is too bad that we aren't more well known. That's why we're doing some of the sessions that we're doing here. And we have strategic partners that we do to get the visibility out. In front of you, you have a sheet that says share your expertise, and on the bottom it says would you like a mentor. So that's there for 2 reasons. Obviously, if mentorship is something that you're interested in, I'll briefly go to the website. It's real easy to sign up. and request a mentor, are gonna ask about what is it that you are interested in getting, support? And that can be, I've had people that have come through as a mentor that said, I don't even know what the questions are to ask. I've got so many ideas about something that I would like to do, I don't know where to start, okay? That's a perfectly good place to start. So, so it doesn't mean that you have to have everything all nailed down. You could start at that point, or you could be in a situation where you've already started, a small business on the side and you've been working full time, and now you're thinking, I kind of want to make that go to the next step, and that might be the time where you want the resource. And working with a mentor can be as long or as short as it needs to be to meet whatever your needs are. So if you have just a question about, I'm looking at starting a business and I don't know what kind of business structure I should do. That can be your question. When you submit, you'll get matched with a mentor. Our backgrounds are all identified through within the SCORE application. There's a committee that matches up and reviews applications and matches them to a particular mentor based on what the issue is that you're trying to work with and or what the industry is that you are maybe looking at that would be a great match. And then you'll get an email from that particular mentor and off you go. I would say 90% of the sessions are done over Zoom, just because sometimes the matching that takes place aren't necessarily geographically close. But if you are a person who does not feel comfortable with technology, or you're the kind of person who feels a whole lot better talking about certain topics when you've got somebody right across the table from you, you can say, I want to meet in person, okay? And then obviously that goes into the geographic selection as well too for somebody. So mentorship, you don't have to use a mentor in order to access what I'm going to show you for some of the educational seminars that are going on all the time. So those are mutually exclusive. If you do work with a mentor, a lot of times they're going to help you say, hey, this is coming up next Wednesday or 6 weeks from now on Friday. You need to sign up for it because they're going to go through, meeting with an attorney and they're going to talk about contract drafting. So they'll help point out some of those sessions and things to you based on what you're trying to work on. But you can access SCORE's website and access the educational seminars without having a mentor. So I'm gonna put a couple, yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick question. I thought SCORE was only in the cities. Is North Star relatively new or?
Yes, so
Okay.
we are underneath of the Twin Cities chapter, and we're the North Star branch. So if you go to the SCORE website over here, you're gonna see up here in this corner, Twin Cities. You don't see North Star under. If you click and go deeper down, you're gonna see that there are actually several different geographic branches that fall underneath of Twin Cities. And the reason we do that is because, quite frankly, the Twin Cities chapter is bigger overall, and they can handle the administrative stuff that we have to handle that goes with national. So, so we're really focused on North Star. North Star goes from Hinckley, north of the Canadian border. We also go over and cover Superior, and then we go west out to Brainerd and Grand Rapids. So we're covering a big part of the state. We kicked off the North Star branch about, November of 2022. So a little over 2.5, or right around 2.5 years. Good question. So you must have run into us, or had run into us before?
Well, I attend a lot of the online.
Oh, okay.
So, and like I said, if they were local ones, I would just, attend in person. So
Right.
my next question is how many Duluth or Hermantown-based education programs do you do?
This is the first one.
Oh.
We've done, we've got some that are running over in Grand Rapids right now. I think we're working on planning one that's gonna be in Hibbing as well. I think there's gonna be another one down in Lincoln Park, probably in the fall. So we're just this year getting the in-person sessions. Because the other half of that piece of paper that you have is what we've been focused on and are continuing to focus on, which is increasing the number of people to be mentors. Okay, so So we're actively looking for people who want to give back and share their expertise. There's a whole training program you go through to become a SCORE mentor, so it's not just like, oh, well, here, meet so-and-so. There's an ethics program that you go through as part of it, and training, and then there's a whole methodology for mentoring through the program that you get trained in. And then you also have the opportunity to meet and work with other mentors, kind of as a peer group, to bounce questions or ideas off of. And then we also have as a resource the ability to look across the database. Like I was working with somebody who's starting a business that is in floor curling, and which is relatively new in the US. It's huge throughout the rest of the world and in Canada, but it's basically curling without ice. But so I searched the database. I didn't find somebody else who was doing floor curling because it's new in the US, but I found 3 other people that were in the curling area around the United States. So at least it provided us some other context to have some discussions with those people about how floor curling might leverage off of. Of course, we have our own, in Duluth here for gold medal winners and stuff. But anyway, my point is we can access people across the SCORE mentor groups to identify people that might have an expertise, and we can bring them in and co-mentor with us. So, but we're hoping to do more educational sessions. We just need to continue to build our mentor base. You don't have to be, how can I put this? You don't have to be skilled in all areas, because none of us are. But you might have a particular knowledge base in, let's say, graphic design, okay? That's something that you've got some expertise in, it's something you're passionate about, and you're willing to share that.
So it's
So,
funny because I am a graphic designer.
are you? Oh, see?
Like a
She's so well put together. So anyway, you can sign up to be a mentor. I will tell you, that the commitment, because there's a lot of demand, the commitment is probably gonna be about, no less than 10 to 12 hours a month, based on terms of mentoring, working with clients. So it does involve some time and effort, but those sessions can happen, at different times of the day, depending upon what your availability is and what your team's availability is. So. And there's the website for SCORE is where you can also sign up for, if you're interested in becoming a mentor. So I'm gonna put Liz on the spot and say, what kinds of topics do you talk with your mentor about?
So a lot of things that I might not necessarily have top of mind at the time, but for futures, and advertising, and then any kind of like relationships that I can build to be connected with other businesses that are similar, or other folks that are also opening a business or new to entrepreneurships.
Wesley, right?
Yeah, correct.
So what do you talk to your mentor? What kinds of topics and things do you talk to your mentor about?
Yeah, pretty similar to what she was saying. A lot from the financial aspect of things too, such as overhead costs and what I'm bringing in and putting out, and obviously marketing is a good one too. How I would be shifting Facebook ads and Google ads. I think really good thing with there is really helpful. So I found a lot of value in my mentor so far. Eager to see who else is out there.
Cool. Somebody over here has said that they would like to watch. Somebody else? Yes.
Kathy, I think I
Yes.
just got matched with you, Dawn.
Oh, you're Dawn. Nice to meet you, Dawn. I got a match.
But I had worked with a SCORE mentor back in the 90s in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So it was to set up a business, and I had gotten all the way to the point where I was ready to buy the building, and then I ended up with a really good opportunity in another state that engaged with me. So I didn't end up going through with that business, but it was an excellent experience. Even way back in the 90s, they worked with me on all of the different aspects of the marketing and the branding, the logo, how to structure the business, funding, all that kind of stuff. To the point where I was really comfortable with it.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna look forward to working with you. Yeah, I know, we just exchanged emails the other day. It's like, okay. And she said, I've already signed up. I sent her the link. and said, because she had said that marketing was part of her issue, and so I said, well, you should come to this. Nice to meet you. Okay, so, at the SCORE website out here, I don't know if everybody can you see if I stand to the side here? And the webpage was on the sign-up sheet, but I mean on the flyer, but it's also on the bottom of your list there as well too. This is showing you what are upcoming events. And Erin, what am I doing wrong?
If you just click on that box that I gotta update my operating system and for some reason.
Just click.
Contacts up, and then click on just click on that and then click on the web page, that'll be fine.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So all kinds of workshops across a wide variety of topics, and you can go out here. So up here at the top, you can see, go to SCORE, find a mentor. Okay, how it works, search for a mentor, shows you success stories. We're in the Twin Cities over here, which is where you're gonna wanna look, because if there's something that's going on here, it'll be underneath of Twin Cities. And then you can see workshops and events, and that's what I just pulled up here. I am not good with the trackpad.
If you just do 2 fingers,
Yeah, I can do 2 fingers. All right. You can tell somebody who's working on a Microsoft Windows over here.
Same way.
Okay. So you might not think about this as being something that SCORE would do a seminar on, but are you working hard or smart? So a lot of times when you're in your business or in working on starting your business, you got all these things, and it's like, how do you prioritize? Where do I start? Which is the most important? Okay, that's going to help you hone in a little bit on figuring out what's the most important. Start with brand 3 and design basics. Well, we're going to learn a lot today from Erin and Cultural North on that. Here we go, insurance basics. Okay, so what kind of insurance do I need to have for the type of business that I'm in? And understanding what that looks like. Commercial, property, whatever. Basics of contracts, okay? I don't know too many businesses where at some point you don't have some type of contractual document that you've got to deal with, whether it's a liability release or whether it's a lease for space or whether it's a confidentiality contract, whatever it is. You're going to get into what are some of the basics. Patent and trademark searching. Sales confidence on closing sales, tax basics. I'm surprised I haven't hit one on QuickBooks yet because there's usually something out here on QuickBooks. HR basics, when growing from a startup to 20 plus employees. What are the things you need to be aware of as you're looking at bringing on staff? It might seem like it's a really easy process. You found somebody, you really like working with them and you want to bring them on as an employee. That's great. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes that you got to make sure you put in place when you start that process in order to be in great shape down the road. So my point in showing you this is that there's all kinds of seminars, and these are going out right now through towards the end of May. They will get updated every week. And if you go out to the SCORE site, you can also add yourself to a marketing email. So you'll get a notice from them usually every 2 weeks from SCORE that lists what's coming up for upcoming seminars. And you can click and register right from these. And if they are not an online event, like this one up here, Navigating Google's Algorithms, the role of AI and rich content, that's going to be in Shoreview at the library on May 14th. So you do see if it's something that's in person where it's going to be. All right. Well, I've taken more time. Sorry about that. I'm going to introduce Erin now, unless somebody else has any questions about SCORE. And I'll be around at the end if you have anything else you want to touch on. Yes, Wesley?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that determining the subject there. Do you guys have information about it? Do you guys deal or work with certain blockers?
SCORE will if you end up working with a mentor, maybe they've got somebody that they specifically have no personal knowledge of, but SCORE doesn't recommend anybody. But what we do have is we have a relationship. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna talk about what does it look like to get a patent and a trademark, and what are the things you have to consider. We do have a relationship with legal court. And through a referral, you can get 30 minutes at least of free legal consultation. So there's a place you can submit in through legal court and have a meeting with an attorney at no cost on a particular topic. So that is something that we can leverage. Anybody else? Yes.
So I work with the Entrepreneur Fund and I have a coach through them. And so, and you know, they're wonderful. I'm sure you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So would it be beneficial to have both a score mentor and a business coach?
An entrepreneur coach. It could be. I think it depends a little bit on what topic areas you're interested in exploring and what falls within what the Entrepreneur Fund does, and maybe what falls within SCORE. We do work real closely with the SBDC. When I talked about the fact that we're a mentor versus a consultant, the SBDC is going to work with you. They tend to work with companies a lot on helping you get your first draft of your business plan and your financials done to set you up to go for funding at different locations and things. We have a lot of background information that can help you. We've got templates for business plans and things as well, but we work hand in hand with the SBDC. So if the SBDC is doing that for you as a project, we know that then when they hand it off to you, we get engaged and work with you on the go forward. So because invariably something changes from what we all thought it was going to be like in the business plan, and then we got to look at it. Well, what's going to happen now? So, but I would say, if there's topics that the Entrepreneur Fund, says, well, I don't know if we really can add much value to you in that, I have to come to SCORE. If you can have both, sure. Okay. All right. Well, it is my pleasure then to introduce Erin Johnson from Cultural North, our keynote speaker for today, who's going to help us understand how to build the brand outside of the flock. And Aaron is joining us here. He's a Duluth native, Duluth Central class here, and then University of St. Thomas. Really good. It's been a flyover for you.
Yeah, I know.
I planned that. That's a chamber perk.
Thank you, Kim. And he's got over close to 20 years in sales and marketing experience. And married, got 4 kids, which it sounds like they're pretty active in the community, because that's your hobby is the kids, right? We're really honored to have you here today and to share a little bit about culture, share a lot of insights into how to brand and stand out. Thank you very much.
Very good, thank you. I think they got one more plane coming over. That's typically the way to do it, but today's agenda, we're gonna cover about 4 days of content in an hour. So I didn't cut anything out of these presentations, so I'm just gonna talk faster to get more information at you, okay?
And I'm going to interrupt in the beginning. The thing I didn't say is if you have questions that are kind of generic, but like you say, well, tell me more about that, or I don't understand what this means, ask. We are going to have time at the end for questions if you have something that's specific to your situation that you want to ask a question about.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yep. And then even if you have questions beyond that, see me afterwards, and I'll be happy to set them with you. But the agenda, we're going to go through a little bit about the Cultural North. Then we're going to talk about branding. Then we're going to talk about assets that you would want to have. And then we're going to talk about actual marketing planning and a framework that will be beneficial for that. So a little bit about the Cultural North. We are a full stack digital creative agency, design and marketing agency. We have a full set of branding and graphic design services. We do websites, both templated and custom designed. So we have a full set of developers on the team that do that. We have a videography and a photography team. So we do all of the videography and photography for the sites that are needed or marketing issues that are arisen. And then we have a full set of marketing products and services. So the SEO, the digital ads, the Facebook ads, the social media management, and things like that. So we really are a full stack agency. It's relevant to Hermantown. Does anybody remember the sales tax initiative that went on in Hermantown a couple of years ago, that built the new hockey arena, that renovated Fickner Park, and that had the trails that go through here? And anybody remember any of that stuff? Did anybody vote no? Anybody vote no for those things? Good, because we ran the vote yes campaign. So we were the ones that did the Let's Play Hermantown campaign. So a couple of years ago, if you saw vote yes, 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 that was us, the Let's Play Hermantown. And that's just an illustration of the capacity that we have. We did the branding, we worked with a community organization. We did the branding of it, we did the website, we did all the social media, we did all the digital advertisement, we did all the print media, we did all the t-shirts, we did all the everything. We did the videography for it, we did the photography for it, and it was a huge undertaking, and we won. So that Wednesday, I was so glad that I didn't wake up and have a phone call from the president of the board that we were working with because something didn't go through, most specifically the hockey rink, because that was the big win. So again, Cultural North, we're based out of West Duluth, so we're one of those organizations that's part of the area of Hermantown. We are members here, so thanks for having me, Kim. Centricity, you guys do a ton of sponsorships of these things. I appreciate that. Eric, I always get nervous when I present when Eric is in the room, because if you didn't know this, Eric also is a referee for basketball games.
Oh.
And I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old who play varsity basketball for Marshall. So Eric hears my voice a lot in the gymnasium. And I'm always nervous that he's gonna stand up and be like, that's wrong, because that's right in him. But it was a funny story. Eric's a super nice guy, he's a great referee. I very rarely yell at him, but there was one time, if you ever wanna see the most disappointed look on Eric's face, have your son swat at a ball on an inbound, which is an automatic technical foul. And Eric was literally standing in front of my son being like, what did you just do? And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, Zachary, what are you thinking? But that was the most disappointed that I've ever seen Eric. He's just like, he walked to the score bench and he's just like, technical, 15, like, for being dumb, go shoot 2 free throws. But no, I genuinely appreciate Eric. He does a great job. So we have liftoff. Buckle up. It's going to be fun. All right. The universe of marketing is a vast one. There are so many tactics. There's so many initiatives. There's so many things going on. And really what happens with small businesses is they get lost. They have no map to find their way or navigate their way around the overwhelm that exists. I talk to business owners every single day, and I see this look of defeat on them because they don't know where to start. And consequently, they fall victim to all of those other things that exist there, right? The overwhelm leads to a lack of focus, leads to succumbing to flashy tactics. Like, what's the latest thing on LinkedIn that somebody's seen about that goes to disconnected initiatives and poor results? So where do you start? Well, you have to start with acknowledging the problem in the room and just say, I've had enough. I'm overwhelmed. I need some help. So what are we going to do? We're going to start with the basics, which is your brand. Okay? And I have a phrase down there at the bottom, and it says, it doesn't matter what you think your brand communicates. It matters what they think you are. Think about that as I talk about the next organization. This organization 4 years ago was at the top of the market. Everybody wanted their product. Everybody wanted to spend a bunch of money with them. Everybody wanted to invest in them. They thought the leadership of that organization was the smartest person in the world. And now nobody wants to touch Tesla with a 10-foot pole. Did the logo change? Did the marketing change? Did anything else change? No. Perception changed. That's what changed. So what is your brand? Your brand foundationally is not a logo, is not a design. Your brand is the vision that you have, the combination of the vision, the mission, and your values. And then it gets into the graphic design elements. The foundation of your brand is your vision, your mission, and your values. So we at the Cultural North, we look at branding from the ground up. We want to make sure that those foundational elements are there. The vision that you have is the thing that you see on the horizon that you are going towards. And that thing on the horizon that you're going towards is humanity thriving, right? The vision that I see on some level is I'm going to impact the world that's going to contribute to humanity thriving. Well, that's a little too big. So what we do then is we march back a couple steps and we say, okay, what actually is the vision that you see? So at the Cultural North, we see the culture around life and work uplifted. We want to see people in their jobs enjoying their jobs. We want to see people in their community and civic organizations enjoying their community and civic organizations. So that's the vision that we see on the horizon. The mission is the thing you do to march towards that vision. Okay? So the vision is the thing you see. The mission is the thing you do. Okay? So our mission at the Cultural North is to provide marketing services for small, mid-sized businesses and community organizations. That's the thing that we do. Okay? Now your values, your core values. Who's worked for an organization that has 35 core values? And you walk in and it's like a long litany list of things, and one of them is integrity, because who operates without integrity? And so the way that we look at values now, on the continuum of your mission, is the values are the things that reorient you towards your mission so that you can accomplish your vision. So when you are forced to deal with an obstacle in your mission, you have to deviate to go around that. Your core value reorients yourself to your mission. Okay? So for example, our core values at the Cultural North are clarity, intentionality, and humanity. Right? We are forced to face obstacles in the work that we do. We have a website project. The client is being very difficult, which happens all the time. We have a choice to make to deviate from our mission and behave in a way that violates our core values. Our core value is humanity. We realize that on the other end of that communication that we're going to send, where we are very frustrated, is another person. There's a person on the other end of that communication. And so what we do is we say, humanity is a core value. I realize that's a person. They might not understand what they're doing to us. So I'm going to choose to respond with humanity and acknowledge that they are a person and communicate in a way that is not divisive, that is not adversarial, but is educational. And it reorients us to our mission to achieve the vision. Okay? If you don't have good core values, what happens? You miss your reorientation point and you never arrive towards your vision. You violate your core value, which causes you to get off mission and not hit your vision. So, vision is the thing you see, mission is the thing you do, values are who you are and how you choose to behave when adversity strikes. Put those three things together, and that's communicating what you want to be, who you want to be. And if you operate inside of those constraints, that's who people will see you are. And they will start to value that brand. They'll want to start to engage with that brand. They'll want to start to develop a relationship with that brand. And then what you do is you start to design concepts and logos and websites and all of these assets to communicate those vision, values, and mission. So start with the foundation, then you start to work on the design, right? So again, branding doesn't matter what you think you are, it matters what they think you are. You're influencing others with the graphical representations of the practical realities of your vision, your mission, and your values. Then we move on to tactical assets. Once you have that brand, once you have those documents, now you start to press those elements out into the world. And I've got a solar system here because the closer you are to the sun, the hotter you're going to be. But in this representation, the closer you are to the sun, the more control you have over how your brand is interpreted. Okay, so for example, a website. Website is mercury to your brand, right? Because you control every single element on that website. You have the photography, you have the words, you have the fonts, you have the colors. You have control over every single thing on that website to make it comply or tie directly to the brand story that you want to communicate. Same with your blog or the content repository. People think blog, they think, oh my gosh, I have to write an article every single week. Not necessarily. Think of a blog as, this is a content repository that I can continue to add on my digital portfolio over time to expand the influence that I have in my market space. Okay? Then you have your SEO. Your SEO is really close search engine optimization. Does anybody know what that search engine optimization is? Right? Yeah, everybody? Say yes, no? Okay, this is an interactive session. But what content, what words, what images, what things are you putting out into the world that relate back to your brand and will draw people in? Okay, digital advertising is another thing. How are you promoting yourself on social media and on search engines and on these different platforms to draw people into your circle of influence, right? And the farther you are away from this nexus, the less direct influence you have on who sees your content, when they see it, and what they see, okay? So the classic thing to pick on in this particular instance is a billboard, right? Your billboards are out here by Pluto because you're literally putting a sign on the top of, or on the side of a freeway, and you don't know who sees it, you don't know when they see it, you don't know if they see it, you don't know if the information on that billboard has any possible connection to that person. Okay, it's not a bad thing, but you just have less control over who sees your billboard than you do who sees a Google AdWord or who sees a promotional social media post. Because those things you can target. You can say, I want this person to see this message at this time when they're looking for this thing, right? And so you just have more control over the inner parts of this diagram than you do the outer parts, okay? The most important thing, though, is that this star is pulling everything towards itself. Gravity pulls all of these elements towards itself, this star. So the point of doing an earned media campaign, so an earned media campaign would be like showing up on a local TV show, doing a featured section on a TV show. So Elizabeth could do a graphic design feature on like The Lift on WDIO. That would be part of an earned media strategy. The purpose of that earned media appearance is to tell people about Elizabeth and draw people to her brand, right? And it would probably flow from an earned media campaign to maybe her social media channels, to maybe some digital advertising, which introduces her to them to a blog or an article that she's written, which lands on her website, filling out a contact form. Now she's got a prospect that she can work with. Everything that you do from a marketing standpoint, your assets, the goal of that is to draw it back to the nexus, which is your brand.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So I work in radio
Yeah.
and help people with radio and digital stuff.
Sure.
So some people will do radio and they won't have a website.
Hmm.
They're not doing SEM and it's a hard conversation that I have to have nearly every day saying, okay, you have great pizza and we know that. Now people heard your ad and now they're gonna go to closer to the bottom of the funnel. But then you've got nothing there, but Papa John's is there. Oh, Papa John's is good. So we talk to our clients about this stuff all the time, making sure that the nexus, like you said, you have to have that all there or else you're just wasting your money.
Right. Yep, you've got to build out your asset portfolio. Right, this is the quiver of arrows that you have, where you want to be able to draw people in. Sorry, there's like a lot of hunting metaphors with marketing and there's a lot of things that are like violent language, like
It fits.
it fits. So you gotta target things, you've got to fire arrows. Anyways, so I tried to make this as neutral as possible, but we're getting there. So you can see there are all of these assets that are out there. But again, as business owners, do you understand them all? Do you have time to do all those things? Do you have the willingness to stick with it? Because a lot of these things are more than just a one-time deal. It's something that you have to constantly engage with. It's something that you have to constantly be involved with. And it's something that you actually need a plan for. So when I say marketing, right, what does everybody think? Well, everything is marketing. That's the framework. I'm doing marketing. Marketing, and I'm marketing for marketing to market my marketing. In reality, what you need a hierarchical structure to say that you have a goal, you have an objective, you have a strategy, and then you get to your tactics. Okay, so now we're shifting into marketing strategy. We've built the brand, we've built the asset repository that we're going to be using, we have our quivers of arrows. Now we need to figure out what we're going to do with this. And I'm going to pick on SCORE a little bit, because if you looked at the seminars that they were doing, a lot of what they were talking about was this. And I haven't done a lot of research, but more often than not, they neglect these. Where now somebody's learning about SEO and they don't know why they're doing it. Right? These are the conversations that I have on a daily basis with business owners, because they come in and they're adamant, and SEO is easy to pick on, so I'm gonna pick on SEO. But they're like, we need to do SEO. It's like, well, yes, okay, that's fine, you do, but why? Why are you doing SEO? Well, because I saw this thing on LinkedIn and this guru said that I should do SEO and it's gonna help build my business and I need to do it. Okay, but why? Well, because all my competitors are doing it. Fine, we'll do SEO. So we started an SEO program and they're ranking like 75th for these key terms that they want. Say we're working with a remodeler and they do doors and windows. And like door and window replacements in Duluth, Minnesota, they're ranking like 70th for that. We're doing SEO, we're writing blogs, we're getting all the content out. And 3 months later, they come in and we're like high-fiving because now they're ranking 3rd. Like we're on the front page of Google. It is a successful SEO campaign. We are like celebrating our success. And they come in and they say, we're canceling our contract. We're like, what? Why? Well, it's not working. What do you mean it's not working? Elizabeth is shaking her head. You're shaking your head. This is your nightmares, right? What do you mean it's not working? Well, we're not getting any leads. Well, that's not what SEO does. SEO is search engine optimization. So you show up higher. If you want more leads, we got to dig into, does your website convert? Do you have forms? Do you have a sales process? Do you have, what is going on underneath the covers that this is now supporting? That's a lead generation program, not an SEO program. If you would have come in and said, we need leads, we would have done something completely different. Well, not completely different. It probably would have included SEO, but it would have been a lot more expensive. That's the problem that business owners face. They don't understand 3 levels above what they're trying to do because they get overwhelmed. They don't have time to think through the strategy that's required to put an actual marketing plan in place. So we use a framework, right? Our solution, 3 objectives, 17 strategies, 38 tactics, right? And what we've done is we've built it out into a deck of cards. It's an elimination deck, and I'm gonna tell you how it works, so you don't even need the cards to do it. But if you think through these concepts, it's gonna help you understand how to actually build a plan. So how it works. Whoops. Sorry. There we go. 1 is it eliminates decisions. Right? We want to solve for that overwhelm that business owners feel. We want to solve for that thing. And so what we do is we created a system that if you make a decision, make 1 global decision rather than 1,000 minuscule decisions. And so what we've done is we've created this hierarchy. You start with a goal, and then you filter that into a subset of objectives, which is a small subset, and you choose 1 objective, which then creates a smaller subset of strategies, which then when you filter that down, you create a smaller set of tactics. So it's easier to facilitate that discussion. Like I said, objectives, strategies, discover the right tactics, know what the purpose of the tactics are, why you're doing the things that you're doing, and you document everything. So often people don't document what they're doing. It sounds so basic, but if you don't document it, then in 6 months, when you come back and you throw your hands up and you say marketing doesn't work, you don't have anything to look back to and say, did we actually follow the plan that we said we were gonna do when we started this whole thing out? So it's an accountability thing. And then number 6 is you actually execute the plan, right? You don't just throw stuff at the wall and walk away from it. You work the plan. You consistently work the plan on it. To do it.
Question?
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm starting my business out, and so I'm, I get I've got to do this in terms of identifying my brand at the beginning, but it's just me.
Yep.
Okay. So what are your recommendations for how do I brainstorm with me about getting through these things when I don't know what I don't know?
So that's where SCORE comes in. That's where Entrepreneur Fund comes in. That's where consultants come in. And you find additional resources to say, hey, I'm thinking about this thing. Can I bounce this off of you? And you get feedback, right? Along these lines, this is the vision that I see. What do you think about it? Right? Does this speak to you? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But that's the vision that I see. This is the things that I'm doing. This is what I want to do. What do you think about that? And so really, if I'm a solopreneur, I've got to surround myself with trusted advisors that can speak into what I'm trying to do. And so that's what I would recommend, is find other people that might be a little bit different than you, but can give you good feedback and good insight into it. So we're talking about eliminating decisions when it comes to marketing. There's nonprofits in here, there's some nuance here, but when it comes to marketing, 99% of the time, your goal is more revenue. And if it's different than that, if you think you're gonna control your expenses through marketing, don't even start. If you think you're gonna do organizational development through marketing, not the right goal. So increased revenue is the bright, shiny goal that we want to do. Oh, so Bo needed to put more shine on it because it is so important. But that's the goal. So we've taken that off the board for you. We're focusing on revenue. Well, then you have one of 3 objectives. There's 3 ways that you can increase revenue. One, you can one way is to increase the number of customers. If you have 10 customers and you get 20 customers, you have doubled your revenue. So that's one objective of marketing, increasing the number of customers. The second dial that you can turn is you increase your average deal size. If you go from a deal that is $10 to a deal that is $20, you have doubled your revenue. So that's the second objective. The third objective is you increase the frequency that your clients buy from you. Those three objectives are it. That's how you can increase revenue in your business. Increase customers, increase average deal size, increase frequency. If you have a client that spends once a year with you, get them to spend twice a year with you, and you've doubled your revenue. Right? This is critical for you, Wyatt. Like, is it Wyatt? Sorry, Wesley. Sorry, Wes. Wes runs a solar panel cleaning company. There's more to it. That's what I got out of my conversation, my 4-minute conversation with him. Solar panel cleaning. I might get my solar panels cleaned every spring. Well, you know what? He should do an initiative that says you should get your solar panels cleaned in the spring and the fall. He's doubled his revenue. Right? So that's how this works. You get people to buy more frequently. You can have a big impact in your revenue. Once you've picked the objective, there is a certain subset of strategies that go with that objective. There is another subset of strategies that have nothing to do with that objective. So why worry about them? Right? So really what you have to do here is you have to figure out, if I'm going after increasing the frequency of the buys that my customers have, does this strategy that I'm coming up with actually impact that? Right? If I'm going to introduce a new product, is that going to impact the frequency that people buy from me? Is it going to impact the number of, or the average deal size that I have? Or is it just going to get me more clients? Right? Maybe all of the above. So those are the things that you need to start to consider on the strategic side. It's that intermediary level of discussion to say, does this apply to the objective that I'm doing? And it avoids having to jump right from the objective to the tactics, right? Because I would rather consider a subset of this amount of things than a subset of this amount of things.
And how many S's are there?
Strategy, I think there's 17. Yeah. So you build up the strategies and you use these criteria like, do we have a new product? Right? That's a criteria. If I want to have a strategy of introducing new products, I better have a new product that I need to promote. Can we support the development and launch of this new product without compromising our existing values? Am I gonna cannibalize the sales that I already have by introducing this new product? It's a valid criteria. It's a valid thing to talk about inside of these discussions. Right? Then you discover the right tactics. And this gets back to the conversation I had earlier about, do you have the whole funnel? Right? Do you have the assets that are in place where if I run a direct mailer that has a QR code, does that QR code go to an actual landing page? Have you thought about that? Like, does it go to a landing page that's relevant to the material that I sent someone? If I send someone a direct mailer on window and door replacement with a QR code that leads to siding, that's a bad brand experience. Right? It's like, wait a minute, I thought this was doors and windows, not siding. Same kind of thing. Do you have the tactics that are pointing towards the right things inside of your funnel to be able to execute the strategy that you're doing. Okay? So again, what we've done is we've gone through the tactics and we've highlighted if a strategy happens to impact the discover and the delight phase of the marketing funnel, then you should be looking at tactics that correspond to the discover and delight phase of the marketing funnel. Go ahead.
How much are those cards?
Got your attention.
Well,
There's gonna be a drawing at the end first.
But wait, there's more. So you gotta make sure that you have the right tactics, and then you document everything. So with the Marketing Navigator system, we've developed a logbook. It's a web interface that as you're executing and as you're going through these things, when you pick a card, any card, when you pick an objective, you can document why. We're going after more customers. We're increasing the number of customers. Why? Document it. Here's the 2 strategies that we're going to focus on. Why? Document it. Here's the 3 tactics that correspond to these 2 strategies that we're doing. Why? Document it. And again, that is the key, because now you can look back at it when you start to go off of your trajectory and say, nope, I'm doing things that I shouldn't be doing. And it's pointing at things that it shouldn't be pointing at, and I'm losing the efficiency that I've gained by already doing my plan. I need to work my plan. I'm gonna go back to what I said I was gonna do, and I'm gonna focus on that. Because again, we're eliminating overwhelm, we're giving you focus, we're giving you practical tactics that stand alone and they're principle-based. It's not trend-based, it's principle-based architecture. Okay? So you document everything, and then, oh, by the way, when you're done, you hit submit, and you actually get a document, because we take all of that information and we slam it into a PDF, along with some additional information and how to get started and what the next steps are for each tactic, and you get an actual document that you could go to. If you're a nonprofit, you can go to your board. If you're a marketing person, you can go to your leadership, and you can say, here's my marketing plan, and what I'm gonna do, and why I'm gonna do it. And then you execute it. So you decide, what kind of scope level are you gonna do? Is this gonna be a basic, intermediate, or advanced program, right? So what would be a basic radio ad program?
Can you expand on this?
Like minimal effort, minimal exposure, just like, I'm just doing a basic
Like a
radio ad.
branding campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah, you mean like cost or like how
No,
many
I
ads
know,
we really
like how hard is it?
Oh, no, well, just to get the client to agree sometimes.
Not sales, so you got now I'm deciding, okay, what are these radio advertisements? I want super basic.
Yeah, so then I go to your website, get some information, go to you, see if we're on the same page. I write some ads, see what we agree on, I have the ads cut, within a couple of days, the client's on the air.
Sure. So if you listen to what she said, I. Basic ad campaign, I'm not doing nothing. Like, it is 0 time off of my need. Like, she is taking care of everything for me. Me as the business owner, I'm not wasting any time on that. She's got it. How about an advanced? So for example, email marketing. The advanced example of that is a personalized segmented campaign with A/B testing and dynamic content on your emails. Who can do that in this room? I can. Elizabeth can. Right? What is that in radio terms? Like, what's an advanced, like, cream of the crop radio advertising campaign? What does that entail?
Plus all your digital, right?
Yeah, and we do digital too, but thankfully we have a department because kudos to you guys, I could never do that without them.
Yeah.
It's a lot of getting them to sit down and to really tell me, what's your unique selling position? I don't care that you're conveniently located, I don't care that you're not.
Yeah.
We need to know why people actually should buy from you.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I like storytelling. So again, everything is just copy and paste a lot of stuff that people do.
Yeah.
For me, I wanna know this stuff. Tell me client examples. Wow, we took that client from here to here, that's awesome. This client had solar panels that were full of pollen and smudge and they got ruined and all we did is have to go up there once or twice a year and then now Marcy doesn't need to care about it.
Right.
So it just takes some effort on the client's part to be willing to sit down and, I don't wanna say do the hard work, but do the work they need to do so we can understand better how to promote in the best way we can.
Exactly. So those are the considerations that need to be had when you're determining what level you want to do these tactics at. How much involvement do I actually have on this? Not only that, but you should know that how fast does this particular tactic take effect? Radio advertisements, pretty quick, right? People hear it and they take action on it. SEO, not so quick.
Yeah.
It takes a while for the machines to learn. It takes a while for them to respond. It takes a while for them to index it, and index it, and index it, and index it. So there's tactics that are really, really fast. There's tactics that are really slow. What is the return reliability? How many times can you use this thing to get there? All things to consider when you're working out what tactics do I actually want to implement inside of my plan. So,
Erin, can I just add one thing to that?
Yeah.
I think another key piece that's hard to do when you're doing this in the starting point, but it's also to take those and make them measurable when you get down to the tactic part at least.
Exactly.
Where it's saying, I'm gonna do 10 of these or 2 of these campaigns in the next 3 months and you know, and I'm gonna expect to see a 50% or a 30%, you know, capture rate or whatever it is. But set measurable goals. Otherwise you find yourself sitting there going, well, I don't know if this is being effective, if it's getting me where I want to go or not. You can always come back and revisit it, right? And this is an iterative process.
Yep.
But make it the SMART goals.
But Erin, isn't all your stuff, I assume you have all the dashboards out and stuff? Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I mean, even if you don't use the Cultural North, the report that you get when you do the Marketing Navigator deck has recommended metrics on it. So if you're doing email marketing, here are 3 metrics that you're gonna wanna track if you do this on your own, right? Just to get you started to do those kind of things. So, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, so if I understand this right, so this is so cool. You were so excited when you were telling me about this 6 weeks ago or whenever we were chatting. And if you kind of like to do things by yourself, it'll kind of walk you through that process by yourself. Or if you are going to work with an agency or a partner or one of the mentors or something, it kind of levels you up. You're talking the same level.
Yeah.
And what is so good about that as a business owner is that you're not wasting time. You're just right.
Yep.
Step by step and talking about the things that need to be talked about. You're not off in this direction, off in this direction. And for that alone.
A couple of the unintended consequences that we had when we were putting this together, as we were going through it with people, was you get 4 people around the table working on a single thing, and they have different vocabulary for everything, right? And so unintended consequence number 1 is it unifies the vocabulary that people are using, because you are looking at the same words and referencing the same parts. The other thing that unintended consequence was that.
Unintended benefit?
Unintended benefit, better. Marketing person. Unintended benefit was the actual tactile element of it. So much of what we do now is virtual, and to have a tactile example with people, to be able to pass a card around or to be able to look at it and hold it, and we actually found people getting very protective of things when they were like, "Oh, this is my tactic. You don't get to look at this one. This one's for me." It was a very interesting process as they were going through it, and we found that meetings became so much more collaborative because it wasn't like this. Not that this is bad, But it wasn't like this with one person standing at a whiteboard and taking notes or like sticky notes or things like that. It was formalized. And so people were much more apt to collaborate together and engage in discussion because of even some of the prompts on there, like the criteria prompts were a real big hit because it was things that people weren't actually thinking about when they would think through, you know, direct mailers. What are the criteria that we should be considering if we're thinking about this particular tactic to do things? Go ahead.
So you came up with this basically? So that's really impressive, first of all. Second, do you have an affiliate structure that you've made for this product where other people can share it and?
We're getting there. Yeah. We haven't gotten there yet, but that is on the roadmap. It's an agent and an agency model where you know, you can join the Marketing Navigator community as an agent and be able to essentially sell the decks on your own.
Yeah.
Or an agency where we would give you the full portal for your agency to be able to run people through it. Sure. As well. Go ahead.
You ever heard the name like cash flow? It's called by Robert.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Love
The author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. But,
Oh, okay.
it's kind of a spin-off Monopoly, but as a business sense. So
Oh, sure.
a lot of people put Monopoly before, and it's
Yeah.
kind of, you know, what do you do in this situation for a financial decision? You know, it's based off business realm. It's a very, you know, household setting, family time game, but it's,
Yeah.
I think with your company, you got here this idea of probably.
Yeah, the genesis of this, so I can see how Rich Dad Poor Dad that would lead into that game. The genesis of this was because we were tired of sitting with businesses that had no plan at all. And we were just like firing off tactics at people. That was the SEO example. That was a real life example, by the way. We were just firing off tactics at things and super frustrated that we didn't understand what the objectives were or what the strategies were. And so my marketing manager and I, we were sitting down and we were actually planning to put a workshop together that was this. It was marketing planning as a service, marketing strategy as a service. And we were gonna sell it, and our creative director, Bo, was listening, and he came up and he's like, you're describing a card game. And we were like, you're what? What do you mean we're describing a card game? He goes, you're describing an elimination deck building card game. And we said, tell me more.
Yeah.
And that was last June, and we've been iterating through it ever since. And now we've gone live. This is version 2. So if you'll notice that some of these tactics or strategies, they have multiple objectives on them. Because I think Elizabeth mentioned this, but like the first draft that we did was 1 for 1. Like if you picked an objective, you eliminated 2/3 of the strategies. But as we started to go through it, it was like, oh, this strategy actually does apply to both of these objectives. And this one does apply to all 3 of them. And so we had to kind of refigure some of that. And same with the tactics. We had applied the tactics to one level of the marketing funnel. Well, same thing there. It's like, actually, this tactic could impact a couple of different levels of the marketing funnel. And so we had to revamp all of that and introduce another filtering methodology as well.
I love that you have, you know, what are the costs associated with this tactic? Because clients don't think about that. They see you until you give them the estimate. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, well, I can't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic idea.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it works, and it's fun, and it's super collaborative, and
So you're using it with clients and stuff?
this is the basic. If I prospect into an organization and I get a meeting with them, this is where I start. Before we talk about any kind of tactics. Like I might have set the meeting with the intent of talking about digital advertising, but I want to know why digital advertising is going to be there, because that impacts it impacts the words that we use on the app. If I'm targeting frequency, that's a different message than if I'm targeting net new people. increasing. So I have to know that in order to implement the right solution on the tactic.
So when do you think these will be available?
They are available today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it says pre-sale.
This is an old,
Oh. I think I just got on the list to be
Yeah.
notified when they're at.
oh, yeah, so they are active. Sorry.
Are they on the back of the?
Yep, yeah, so they're on you have a little bookmark at your desk or where you're sitting, and that's the order now one. So, sorry.
Aaron, I wanna get like the big cards for working with boards of directors or committees where there's a lot more people in the room and you need to funnel them through. That would be.
Yeah.
Future.
Card version of it,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. I'll give you the files, and you can print them off yourself. But, yeah,
So Aaron, speak to what you've seen as experience of, we're talking with a lot of people that may be just starting their businesses or
Yeah.
whatever. And then you've got businesses that maybe, been around for 10 or 15 years. Surely this doesn't stay the same. So kind of like, what's that process look like?
Yeah.
How often should you revisit these
Yeah.
things?
I think the right answer to that is it depends. It depends on the customer life cycle that you have. If you have a very, very long customer life cycle, like once a person buys from you or once a person becomes your client and they're gonna be your client forever, then what I would probably do is I would probably have a strategy or a plan that is more focused on the loyalty side of things, the delight piece of things. And that one is a longer lived strategy or a longer lived plan than one that is new customer acquisition. Because a new customer acquisition plan is going to be constantly evolving based on what's out in the marketplace. For example, if I'm a credit union and another credit union from another community comes into my community, I gotta have something that responds relatively quickly. And so what I can do is I can go through this and I can create a short-term plan to then launch and get going in a relatively short amount of time, right? With the tactics that are speed to impact, fast, and things like that. So it's all things to consider. The other thing that's nice about this is it can scale, right? So if I'm a solopreneur, or if I'm a small business, I'm gonna wanna focus on one objective with 2 strategies and maybe 2 tactics per strategy. Because that's 4 tactics that I'm gonna be working on, which is a lot. From what, you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta have 4 businesses. But if I'm an organization the size of Maurice's, or if I'm an organization the size of Sierra's Design, I can focus on all 3 objectives and have plans for all 3. I wanna sell more planes. This is weird. I wanna sell more planes to new people. I wanna sell more expensive planes to people. I don't wanna sell SR-22s, I wanna sell jets. But have all of the tricked out navigation things and the leather seats and like the high paint jobs and things like that, right? I don't wanna sell a $3 million jet, I wanna sell a $10 million jet. And I wanna sell that person a new jet every 3 years instead of every 6 years. Right? Who's buying a jet? Did I do a good job selling? But that's the beauty of it, right? You only have those 3 jobs. And so you can impact all 3 of them if you want. But again, think about it, like if I've got 3 objectives and each of those objectives have 3 strategies, that's 9 strategies. And if I have 3 tactics per strategy, like that's a lot, right? That's 27 tactics that I'm gonna be working on, which is a huge digital portfolio of products and services.
So when you guys came up with this, did you intend to sell it to clients or agencies or keep it for yourself so that, when clients came in, you said, okay, here's your cards.
Yes.
That was probably the original intent, and then they pick their cards and tactics, and then you provide that service.
The original intent was to get this into businesses' hands.
Oh, okay.
Because of the pain that we were experiencing, and I knew other agencies were experiencing, because businesses didn't have the plan, right? Getting the plan is the most important piece. And so this developed because we wanted to get it out into the marketplace for people to use.
Okay.
Secondarily, that arose, well, gosh, other agencies would probably want to use this too. And so that's where the genesis of the agency model came from.
Okay.
Tertiary, we want to get it into marketing departments at universities for educational purposes. So now marketing students that are in these classes have a framework that they can learn and they can actually build strategies instead of just focusing on tactics. But, yeah. And so we're also working to get into some universities to get this into professor students, to allow their students to have this, and they can take it with them afterwards. Because who references their marketing books from college? Do you have a setting?
Right.
Anybody else?
Solved.
And they're like, oh, is that a strategy? I'm gonna pull this out and I'm gonna look at the page and
Oh, it's in the
this is
closet.
tactical.
This is like what I did with my business coach, except it was like in your business plan. This is like, okay, here's your big goal, here's your, and you write it into like an outline. And then it goes over and you do it again, but this is like more fun.
Yeah.
And like tactical,
Yep.
nature of it is really cool. And so I'm even thinking like, what about CA and, entrepreneur fund?
Yeah, we're working with, we've talked to Sandy at the Entrepreneur Fund.
Okay.
Because they have tools like this,
Yeah.
their growth wheel and all of those kind of things. This is right along the same lines of those things. So, yeah.
You were saying helping this actually.
Right. Tell her that you just saw the market.
I will tell her.
Yes.
Do the cards, does the process show you how to measure progress too?
Yep.
Because that's,
Yeah, so the cards don't, but the report does.
okay,
So
so how do you measure, it's not just like measuring how many or something, but how do you measure it?
yeah, it has recommended metrics that are associated with that, right? Like if you host a trade show booth, you should know how many people dropped contact information at your trade show booth. You should also think through what kind of follow through do you have with that? How are you gonna reach out to them? When are you gonna reach out to them? What are you gonna say when you reach out to them? Are you gonna drop them into an email marketing funnel? Like, those are things to consider as well. If that tactic is there.
I guess this question kind of depends on your supply of.
Oh,
But you guys have like a social media marketing team behind you guys? that helps you with it?
Yeah. That's what we do it all in-house.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just figured we need this product, the algorithms of, TikTok or the Facebook ads and whatnot, like, a lot of businesses and stuff really grab off.
TikTok shopping, by the way.
Yeah.
A lot of kids my age, like, let's TikTok shop, and they're just right there.
And people, other
Yeah.
people,
They don't want me to get.
I don't have a song to show, but my name is Margaret.
So we're coming up on the 1:15 mark, so why don't we take maybe one more question, and then I'm gonna go grab the card box, and if anybody didn't put their business card in that wants to put their business card in for the drawing, I'll bring it in and you can put your business card in. But one more question, and then after the drawing, we'll still be here, so it's open for you guys to hang out and mingle and stuff, so.
Yeah. Any other questions, thoughts? As you've been listening, what's been involved in this service?
You've gone before, what's that show where?
Shark Tank?
Yeah, Shark Tank.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the last question, so go for it.
Did you get to
So we
finish
have
your thought?
130 of them in stock today at my office.
133.
130, oh, that's what so 133.
And you're giving a deck away.
I'm giving a deck
Awesome.
away today.
Anybody who hasn't put their business card in for the drawing.
Does anybody need a business card sized thing to put their name on if they didn't bring their business cards? Okay, I will get
I
that.
don't want to run into my.
No, that's fine.
Although I tried to give it this card all, yeah.
You can put a business card
in.
What are we here?
I mean, oh, at the Audrey.
Oh, yeah. So going from the QR code with the guys, because they're trying, they're, even some younger guys, but they're all older, and they found all these to become a member and be part of that had the QR code on, like, they're giving out people and I scan the QR code, I'm like, yeah, this is too big, that's no longer.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yeah.
You really fast.
Yeah. No, actually, let's be Scott.
Okay.
And I'm actually take that.
Did anybody else? Everybody have their business cards here? All right, I would do it, yeah. Never happens. So we'll have, Karen, drawing here. Oh, she's, oh, she's doing that. Again, feel free to stay and mingle, but there is an evaluation sheet, right below your store flyer.
Can I give a little tip on business cards?
Yes, go right ahead.
If you don't have your business card with you, and you have the LinkedIn app on your phone, if you go into the search bar on the LinkedIn app on your phone, there's a little icon on the very, very far left or right of it. If you click that, or if you touch that, it comes up with a QR code that somebody can scan and it goes right to your LinkedIn phone. So just a little,
Oh my gosh.
if you ever get stuck without a business card, it's a super easy way to do that.
See, look at this stuff.
I love it.
All right, so yes, if you would please fill out the evaluations, it would help us greatly. And Tim will do the drawing here, but I want to say thank you to all of you for coming today, and we're really, really appreciate it. We're going to look forward to seeing you at some other upcoming seminars, and thank Erin so much for coming and making the presentation. Stand up.